Okay.
Oh, we're live.
Right, guys, let's check.
We
always.
Are we live?
Yeah, we've got a good old black screen at the moment. But we'll see. Let's have a little look, see if we're live. Nice. Are we actually on screen yet? Let's have a little look. It's so different to how we normally do it. But this is wicked. Okay.
Just appeared.
There we are.
Right, let's hopefully people can hear us because it's sort of weird now. Right, yeah, hey everyone. Andy and Dave from EverTrekker HQ. Another Tuesday tune-in. We're a little bit different today, Dave, isn't it?
It is a little bit different.
We're on the sofa again.
We're sat together, which is the biggest difference. But,
yeah, it is weird. And Fee. Hello, Fee.
Hello.
Finally, Fee, this is the first time you've been on here since your little intro.
Since my intro, yeah. Yeah, nice to be back.
And we also have some special guests today, haven't we?
We do.
We've got Kevin and Dominic, all the way from Brecon Mountain Rescue, who have joined us today. So say hello, guys.
Hi guys, thanks for having us.
You're very welcome.
No, great stuff. Just nice to see some human beings. It's been ages, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just let you guys know a little bit about today. So we're going to be talking about charity today, which is why Fee's with us, because she is although she's our Bimbling Yeti, she's also our charity Yeti. Yeah, so we wanted to announce sort of a little bit of a partnership with our sort of charity partner of the year with Brecon Mountain Rescue, and also as well answer any sort of FAQs around charity and fundraising, things like that, and especially with the guys as well. The gents are going to be answering some questions just around bits and bobs around experience and the mountain journey over the last couple of years, and then we'll also answer the usual Tuesday tuning questions as well. So we're hopefully between 45 minutes to an hour today. Yeah, quite excited, Dave.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
It feels weird. It feels like a proper little TV show today.
Yeah.
Right, where should we start then? I know we talked before about what we've already been doing. Should we talk about that?
Yeah. So obviously we've raised quite a lot of awareness and sort of tried to be a driving force. And I like to think we are a driving force for change when it comes to the way we trek in the mountains. So what we did last year, I believe we were the first, and am I right saying we were the first? We were the first company in the UK providing treks to Everest Base Camp in the Himalaya to actually do away with plastic bottles and any type of single-use plastics and things like that. You'll notice it's been in the news recently that they found microplastics on the summit of Everest. Well, they're not ours.
That was crazy.
We've taken all our microplastics down with us. We introduced the water filter and purification system. So all of our water now comes from natural sources, and it's passed through a purifying filter that we use, repeatedly. Like one filter can do the whole group for the whole time, and then when it's done, they get recycled, and huzzah, no plastic left on the mountain. And we've rolled that out now in Tanzania as well in February. Yeah. So yeah, really, really proud of that. But it's really sort of kickstarted us thinking about, what more can we do?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is something that we've become very passionate about, I think, as a company and collectively, as especially since Fee's joined and Lauren's joined. They've given us a kick up the arse, I think.
They certainly have. No, that was one thing, wasn't it? Especially in the 𝘾𝙝𝙖 region where there's a lot of people going up there, and the plastic reduction was really important to us. And like you said, in terms of Tanzania, when we did through the 𝘽𝙖𝙖 charity, and the 𝘽𝙖𝙖 charity basically help the local schools, but they also do a lot of sustainability stuff around sort of planting trees, helping the local schools, education, things like that. So our partner out there, we're really passionate in supporting them, because I think everything that goes out to Tanzania, 15% of everything really gets dropped down to those things, which is huge, really.
Yeah, massive.
Especially with all the customers we take out there. Not now, obviously, because it's COVID, but next year. It's kind of really cool. And then especially this year when COVID did hit, another big thing for us was supporting our local staff, especially in Nepal. So we did raise, it was about $4,700, which we sent over to Nepal around May time. And that just supported the families, when they couldn't work, because they had no customers, they had no one to serve. And then it brings us back to the UK, because although we love to help all the countries we operate in, we're from Wales and we're passionate about supporting charities here, and we've worked with 𝘾𝙗𝙖𝙾𝙀 before, a homeless charity, which and Fee obviously previous to the work for. And obviously now we're looking at another Welsh charity, which is Brecon Mountain Rescue, which is something we're really looking forward to working
Yeah.
with. And I suppose then, guys, that brings me on to a little intro to you. So I don't know if you want to maybe take in turn, just who you are, how long you've been with Brecon Mountain Rescue, a little bit about yourselves.
Okay, well,
Cheers, guys.
I'm Dom. Hi. I've been in Brecon Mountain Rescue for 11 years now. My background is I'm a teacher. I've been teaching in a secondary school in Swansea for 30 years. But I do lots of outdoor work with Duke of Edinburgh groups, and I got involved in mountain rescue, having seen a group out of mountain rescue people out in Iceland, and thinking, well, I wonder if I could do that at home, and got stuck in. I do as much as I possibly can. I'm the treasurer, I'm a deputy team leader, I'm a search party leader. Most of us are 𝘾𝙍𝖼𝙾𝙍 carers as well, so we can look after casualties while we're out there. But people often ask why I do it, and I'm pretty selfish. I do it because I absolutely love being with the people out there, and the buzz you get from it, and going to places perhaps you don't normally go in the Beacons and Mid Wales, and at all times of day and night. So it's a hugely rewarding thing, which I get immense pleasure from, and continue to do so. That's me.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Kev?
Nice.
Hi, I'm Kev. I've been in the team for 26 years now. My permanent job that paid the mortgage, I worked in local government as a sport and leisure officer. I'm now fully retired, so I can dedicate a bit more time to teamwork. Similar to Dom, I joined the team basically just to put back something into the system, you know. I think we got a common interest in the team of all our team members. They come from walks of life, different occupations, but we all got a love for the outdoors. And I think we got this common theme that we like to put something back into what we already enjoy.
Yeah.
As a full team member, I'm also a 𝘾𝙍𝖼𝙾𝙍 carer, similar to Dom and most of the other teams. I'm a team driver for all the vehicles and response driving, and I spend a lot of the time I coordinate the fundraising for the team as well, which takes up quite a bit of your time, you know. And in all, throughout this conversation, no doubt we'll find a bit more about the team. It's you need a lot of commitment for the team. It does take up a lot of your time. One essential thing about being a team member is that you've got an understanding family, because without their support, you know, you couldn't fulfill the tasks that's required. But we do get a lot of satisfaction from being a team member and assisting so many other people in their time of need. So very rewarding, even though you've got to get up all hours of the day and all kinds of weather, but the end product, you're helping someone. And a lot, if not most of our people we help are sort of life-threatening circumstances, you know, so yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Cheers, guys. Nice.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's nice to obviously meet you guys as well. And I know we talked a little bit obviously before about maybe a couple of instances. You got any ones that stand out? Would you say, like, I say not like a case study, but almost, you know, something that's occurred that sort of stuck out for you guys over the years? You know, like one moment that you thought made a real
or anything
difference?
recent that you've been involved in that you want to
I
tell?
think the most recent one that was really good was we had a call out. I was the coordinator, so I was the one that morning that if the police want to call us out, I was the one who reacted to it and called the team out. And it was a man with chest pains on Pen y Fan, right up on the top, and we spoke to I spoke to his daughter. It was a lovely thing. It was a whole family trip out. So I think there was a husband and wife, 3 children. Yeah, they were all out together, and Dad was suffering on the mountain, and they were obviously worried. So we just wanted to say, well, let's get everyone out there. Let's get everyone up onto the hill as quick as we can. And we did. We actually managed to call a helicopter in as well because they were available. But this was quite early in the morning as well, wasn't it? So it was an early morning one. Yeah. But we got a doctor up there. They did when the helicopter came in, they managed to get the equipment onto him, check him, and they thought maybe he's had a mild heart attack. So they whisked him away in a helicopter to hospital. But it was more the aftermath that the messages we had from the family were just like, you know, to their minds, we saved the man's life. You know, it might be so, it might not, but it was we've had lovely messages, and he's now written a song, hasn't he?
Oh,
Wow.
It's brilliant. He's loved
Guys,
his
sing,
music.
sing away.
He's loved his music, and he just wanted to show his appreciation. But we've had lovely messages from it, and it's things like that that you remember.
Yeah.
Things that are the powerful thing. I mean, our everyday thing is somebody falls and breaks an ankle, and they can't move, they can't get off the hill. They need to be, have that limb immobilised. They need some pain relief. They need to be put on a stretcher, and they need to be carried off the hill. That's what our bread and butter is. But and they don't stick out, unfortunately, because they're so common. But the ones that stick out are the ones where you have a really good outcome from a difficult situation, and you get a little bit of appreciation. Someone actually says thank you, because very often they're whisked away in an ambulance or something. We never hear again. We don't know what happened to them. We don't know how well they've been, or whether. But that's as a recent one, which you were saying, has been a really, really nice one.
Nice.
I think from a sort of educational point of view, it's worth mentioning that most incidents or accidents that happen on the hill are lower leg injuries.
Right.
Whether that's a fracture, whether it's just a sprain or a strain on an ankle, but it's a case where you can't weight bear on your feet.
Yeah.
And those sort of injuries are not life-threatening. But what is life-threatening is the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
Suffering from the effects of cold, hypothermia. They're the killers,
Yeah.
So that's a good education message to get over to people.
Yeah.
The need to wear and take some warm clothing with them. Should an incident occur, whilst you're walking and you're keeping warm, you've only got to sit down for 5 minutes or so, and you're going to get very cold. So we deal a lot with non-life-threatening incidents, but they could be life-threatening because of the environment that they're in,
Yeah, could get out of hand.
That's an important message to get over.
Yeah,
I mean, we've spent a lot of time, and we owe probably a lot of our training, and Brecon has sort of become it's part of the DNA of EverTrekker, really, spending time in the Brecon. But just from our experience there, we know how changeable it can be.
Yeah.
Like we've been on treks where we've had probably all 4 seasons, like
within an hour.
10 miles, like I can pretty much see individuals over in Brecon town, and then sometimes I can hardly see what's in my bag. It's so we know how changeable it can be, and I think it is one of those things where like I always have your number. just in
Speed
case.
dial now, direct call. I think
it is just 999. Ask for the police. Ask for Mountain Rescue. That's the way we get called.
That's a good message, I think, to let people know how they get hold of it.
And our mantra is we would always rather be called and then not actually be needed than not be called and then it escalate into, as Kev said, it escalates into something bigger because they've left it. So, I mean, the number of times you get in your car and 10 minutes later you're back home again because somebody's been missing and then they've suddenly turned up.
Right.
But you go out your house and you've no idea whether you'll be back in 10 minutes or 10 hours. And that's quite weird because you can't plan for that. And fitting that around sort of a normal life of working and things is quite, and as Kev says, family life can be quite challenging at times.
Finding that balance, I bet, isn't it? Because, if you get a call, middle of the night, I suppose, isn't it? You've got to leave your family, it must be like managing that as well as...
Well, everyone's on call all the time.
Yeah.
But because we're volunteers, because we don't get paid for this, it is, you make that decision. So we've got a team of 60, and you might get 15, 20 who can come at that time. And if we do have an occasion where, I don't know, if it's a Saturday night and there's been a big rugby match on and everyone's had a few drinks, we might only get 6 or 7. But we can then, in that situation, call on another team to come and support us, and they do likewise.
Nice.
Or if there's something which has got a very difficult extraction, where you need huge numbers of bodies because you can't carry a stretcher, you've got to pass it along a line. You very often need lots and lots of people. So because there's 4 teams in South Wales, we can call on others as well if we need to.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. We're getting some questions in there as well.
I noticed that. I was just going through the comments.
So Joel Palmer has asked a question for you guys. What's the most awkward extraction? Like on the edge of a ridge or a difficult situation where you've had to use a helicopter, or maybe you can't get a helicopter there? Any particular incidences or scenarios that you can think of where you'd be like, oh, don't get stuck there?
I think we've had quite a number of incidents that fall into that category, especially where in gorges, etc., where people have incidents. They've fallen over a waterfall, for example, and they've got to be extracted from there, middle of the river. And the extraction from gorges is very difficult. We got excellent support services from the Maritime Coast Guard helicopter, and normally that involves winching in extreme conditions, generally from the middle of the rivers there or middle of gorges. You know, if there's an open canopy for them to do it. But then they can demonstrate the skills of the pilot and the winchman in doing that is tremendous. Because the difficulty is, if we can't get a helicopter in to assist with the evacuation there, like Dawn just previously mentioned, it's a stretcher by evacuation. And one question I always put to people whilst we're doing talks, etc., is that evacuation by stretcher. And I always ask the question, how many people does it take to carry a stretcher? And you normally get answers of maybe 6, 4, 6, maybe 8. And that's because in people's minds, they're looking at seeing people carrying stretchers, say from a rugby field where they've got a short grass or a flat surface. When we're working in the gorges, we can't carry a stretcher, but we've got to do a hand-over-hand movement. And that could take 30, if not 40 people for one stretcher to evacuate one person, you know. So those are the challenges that we face in sort of gorge working, you know.
It's not even the distance. You might have an extraction which is 400 metres, which takes 3 hours, or you might have an extraction that's 5 miles that takes 3 hours. It's all about the terrain you've got to cross. And I mean, I don't know what people think of when they think of a stretcher. I know when I went into the team, I'd seen Second World War movies, and you have 2 poles with a canvas in between from the front and back. But our stretchers are sophisticated metal structures where people are strapped into them, usually in, you know, they're immobilised if there's got some sort of injury, so they're in a vacuum mattress. They're usually in a big 𝘘𝙍𝙖𝙧𝙞 bag, which is like a giant woolly sleeping bag. They might have a neck brace on. We might need to have a bit open to investigate an injury. And we might have to stop every once in a while to check that if it's an ankle injury particularly, have they still got a pedal pulse? Is there still blood getting to that foot? And it's all these things can take forever. And if you think of an extraction, or if you think about some of the gorge paths you walk, they're all routes, and they're all up and down, and they're over little narrow bridges. And it can take you 10 minutes to go 5 metres sometimes. And you're also going to be very careful of managing the rescuers, because sometimes you're on a path where you can't get past the stretcher to get round to help because there's a big drop to your side. So it's all but very careful. I mean, we always have someone called an on-scene commander, and their job is not to get involved, is to manage the situation and manage the people so that everybody is safe, so that the rope systems are put in place to make sure everybody's safe. And that throughout the whole situation, till everybody is back at the control vehicle, that we maintain safety for everyone. And our mantra, isn't it, is it's self, team, casualty.
You got to look after, because someone's mentioned that, like, what about you guys, you know?
We
put
put
ourselves
ourselves
yourselves
first,
is right, right? I know you're obviously experienced, you've been out in the mountains loads, but that must come into it as well.
And we always say to team members, if you're not comfortable in a situation, don't do it. Just don't. We don't want team members. There's no macho gung-ho attitude. It's all about safety, and if we need to take time, and sometimes it's quite difficult. You get to a casualty site, you can see the casualty, and you have to say, we're not going down there yet. We're going to make sure this system is safe. This what we have put in place is safe for the people who are there, and then we'll get to the casualty. I mean, we'll talk to the casualty, and we'll maintain like voice contact and eye contact, but we can't always go straight down to them, because we've got to be safe first.
Absolutely.
Good question, actually. 𝘾𝙞𝙢𝙗𝙗, she's been to Everest Base Camp with us. And she's got a really good question. Are you finding an over-reliance on tech for navigation? Is that come into play a lot?
Us or the casualties?
Sorry, with the casualties, people are generally relying on tech more these days. Do you see that? Or, you know, which is causing potentially more issues?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, over the years, we've seen a vast increase of people, you know, with an interest in outdoors, which is really good. But when you start reading some of their blogs on social media, it's obvious that they haven't had any training or experience on map and compass work or navigation in general, because you can read that by the questions that they pose in on there, you know.
Yeah.
So I think there are more people that are using technology now for navigation. The message we try to put over on any organization really is that first and foremost they should have that basic training in map and compass work, because you always need that to fall back on. Your phones could go down, you could lose your phone, you may not have a signal there. So it's technology is a great advancement. It's a great advancement for us for locating people as well. But you need this basic knowledge of map and compass work to be able to get you out of some dangerous situations.
Well, exactly. The winter training skills that we do and provide with a guy called Steve up in North Wales. And he's very much he has that belief there that a lot of the technology and the stuff that people use is great. It's getting people out there, and it's actually it probably has helped more people than it's hindered in terms of, well, they can just get a map and find their way quite easily. However, having that backup of knowing how to, a map won't have a battery, a compass won't sort of let you down. So he teaches that, and we went through that, didn't we, and used it and practiced with the navigation, and it's kind of comforting to know you can do it. Like, I don't think I've ever taken the map out my bag really just around Brecon, but having it there is nice, because I think, well, if something was to happen, if the weather comes in, if you get turned around and injure yourself and become disorientated, you can just sort of knowing how to set a map, and even just the basics can get you out of trouble, so you know which direction you're heading.
There's two parts to it. I mean, there is that side of that people rely on their phones and they're mapping on their phones, and we see people who've ripped a page out of Trail magazine and are following the guide on that, and that's just got a page map, and then it gets soggy and they can't find their way. But the flip side of that is that the technology often helps us get them out of there. Kev sort of touched on it. Things like what 3 words have revolutionised mountain rescue, in that most people who go out in the hills have got these sorts of apps, and our tradition, what used to be hours and hours searching for someone where they said, I'm on the side of a hill, I can see a reservoir in the distance, and I've no idea where they've gone. Those have gone. We don't have many of those searched anymore, because people can tell us where they are, and we have a system as the coordinators that if they have a phone and it's live, we can ping that phone through the police, and even if they don't know where they are, we can very quickly locate where they are, and it means so much more of our work is, all right, we're out much more than we used to be, but it's going straight to a casualty, getting a hasty party there to assess them and get them out. And that the search element has dropped. If somebody's got dementia, or if it's at night and they're lost and their phone is dead, then we do a traditional search. But that's less our work now, isn't it? And much more. So our call-outs tend to be a bit quicker. Because we haven't got that, or where on earth are they?
It's easier to locate.
So you've mentioned that what 3 words. We've seen it on TV. Tell us a little bit about the what 3 words, because just in case people don't know, I think it's a very helpful app, right, on the phone.
It's an app you download, and it basically gives you a 10 by 10 metre?
No, it's 3 by 3 meters.
Oh, really? So where you stood?
Anywhere in the world.
I mean,
which is amazing, and you just trying to get your head around that every 3 metre square in the world has got 3 exclusive words to it.
A lot of data.
Wow. I can't get my head around it, but it's true.
The only downside,
there is a downside to it,
is if they don't get the spelling right, and they
see.
send it in, you could be. We've had one in the Irish Sea.
Okay.
We've had one in Malaysia. And it was just because of basically it's 3 words with no spaces and a dot between them. And if we get that, our software now, so we plug that into our software, and it tells us exactly where they are, or where it was last pinged. We did have a call out last year for an ex-soldier, didn't we? And because where he'd been, they'd walked into a valley, and he'd had an epileptic fit. In fact, he had several, didn't he? It was in a really, really bad state. But because the last location that the phone had signal, it sent us that. So we actually finished up the wrong side of a hill, and then had to, when we got more information, actually, well, he's not there, he's actually on the other side of the hill.
I think generally we would prefer to have an OS grid reference.
To work on.
A nice little app to have is OS Locate. That's Ordnance Survey Locate. By just the press of a button, that will give you a six-figure grid reference.
Okay.
That's, that's I think more reliable than trying to spell these words correctly, which can be some of them very long words. And
it makes sense. Sinead's come up now. She's like, she mentioned OS Locate, and was like, there's the grid reference would be better for you guys, obviously. Okay.
Sinead's on it today.
She is on it today. I know. Fair
Sinead's
news.
on it today.
Something that spoke to my mind as well, because I know we've talked about a lot of the actual stuff you're doing, but obviously as a charity, there must be some challenges at the moment.
Particularly at the moment, I know that a lot of charities are obviously suffering with traditional forms of fundraising, event fundraising, people running marathons, people doing all that kind of stuff is kind of ground to a halt. So have you been impacted alongside the kind of rest of the charity sector, I suppose? The fundraising.
Certainly since the COVID situation come in, all our fundraising activities this year have had to be cancelled. So anything that was pre-planned there, so we've lost all the income from that this year. So fingers crossed next year we can get back. So it's got an effect on us, it's got an effect on all other charities, and fundraising, of course, is an essential factor of the team. Because whilst we're all happy to give out time quite freely and willingly, we need the resources to do that, and we need the money to get those resources for our vehicles, equipment, etc. So fundraising does play a part. We are a registered charity, and the majority of our income all comes from mainly public donations. We do a lot of fundraising ourselves, because we do need to raise £55,000 a year, which it costs to run the team. So the team gets involved with that, every team member in its ways, but there's only so much we can do ourselves because we're so committed to call outs, all our other training. So fortunately, we've got a lot of supporters out there which assist us with fundraising, such as you were doing now.
Well, exactly. Well, we're helping.
Really appreciate when somebody comes on to us and says, we'd like to nominate you as a charity of the year. It's a real bonus for us, because there's someone working on our behalf to raise these essential funds, and can't thank you enough, really.
Oh, brilliant.
It's great to get involved.
So I think from our point of view, we're going to be making a donation for every trek that's booked. So anyone watching who hasn't booked a trek yet, or who wants to think about booking a trek, for every trek that gets booked, we'll be making a donation to Brecon Mountain Rescue as our charity of the year for the next year and possibly longer. And also we're hoping to encourage people to do some fundraising on your behalf as well. So we know that there's lots of good charities out there, and we know that there's lots of people who've got causes really close to their hearts. So if people want to fundraise for different charities, that's great, that's absolutely brilliant, and we'll help to support you with that as much as we can. But if anyone's sort of sitting there thinking, I'd love to support a charity and I don't know which one, then Brecon Mountain Rescue is a great one, and we'd love it if people wanted to choose Brecon Mountain Rescue to support as well. And we're going to be here to give a bit of advice and support for anyone who is looking to do any fundraising for any charity, really.
Comes on to our next point, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed, as if by magic.
That was seamless.
I know.
I gotta be honest, I'm impressed. So I'm here. The viewers must be.
I know. It's Fee, go on. You may as well carry on. I think if you want to talk about what we've done.
Just to say that what we've done. So when I kind of came on board with EverTrek way back, whenever it was, when did I come on board? May-ish time, was it? I can't even remember. Anyway,
feels like you've always been here.
It's like I've always been here. At some point, we talked about the fact that we do get, we have had a few requests from people, and a few people generally who've decided to do this amazing trip of a lifetime, but they've also wanted to raise some money for their own, particular charity, whichever cause they wanted to. And we were just sort of thinking, well, what can we do to kind of support that and provide any help that we can, really. And with my sort of background in the charity sector, so I've got a bit of experience working for various different charities locally and nationally as a fundraiser. So to say it quietly, so Kevin doesn't rope me into doing fundraising.
You're too modest. You're very experienced at fundraising.
I know.
UK expert.
So we have developed fundraising pack, an EverTrek fundraising pack. So it's available to support you guys. It's just got some kind of like hints and tips, some legal stuff, some stuff about how to make your donations go further, stuff about gift aid, all that good stuff. A lot of charities will have their own versions of a fundraising pack, but we just wanted to have something that we could offer to our EverTrekkers, and that's for whatever charity you want to support. That fundraising support and advice is there for whichever charity you choose to support, and I'm obviously available to kind of have a chat with people and talk to people about how to maximise their fundraising, really. But yeah, if you're looking for a charity to support, then we absolutely recommend Brecon Mountain Rescue. So you know, I'd love to speak to anyone who's interested in doing that. And our new pack is available. Is it available now?
It is, yeah. If our social yeti Lauren's out there, Lauren, if you can drop the link into the comments, that'd be awesome. And then everyone can download that. Yeah, Ultimate Fundraising Guide.
Have a look at the guide and download it.
It's
Let us know
all
what you
live.
think.
Let us know what you think. Yeah, because there's probably some spelling mistakes in there. You know what they're like.
Not that. I'm sorry, I won't have that. He is not. No.
Well, it's quite funny because we've got a couple of people saying that you've brought some organisation to the Tuesday Tune-In thing. So yeah, well done, mate. It's nice to have. But yeah, some really good comments though, guys. I think Brian, he's one of our EverTrekkers. He was actually back in March when lockdown hit. He was actually stuck in Everest, but he was raising money for another charity. I think it was the British Heart Foundation.
Yeah.
Brian, correct me if I'm incorrect on that. But and he was stuck in Kathmandu for 10 days drinking beer, so he wasn't too, he was happy with that in a way.
Life and death. But he's actually ex-military as well. Now I know he's probably almost certainly done a lot of his training on in Brecon, and he's actually said he just wanted to say well done to the heroes from the Brecon Mountain Rescue. He's a local legend. I actually had a customer the other day. Brian, you probably know who he is, who called and wanted to book a trek with us, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, how did you find us and stuff? And he was like, I was following a group of you guys last year and we got stuck in Kathmandu together in Hotel Manang. And I went, oh yeah, who was that group? And he went, Brian. and he went,
called
and I was
Brian.
like, I know Brian. And he was like, yeah, I was with Brian, and and he wanted to book. So thanks, Brian. We owe you a beer for that one. I guess you're a good ambassador.
And I think, is this the same Brian that's just done some fundraising for the guys?
Yeah, he has,
and Porters in Nepal as well.
Exactly.
Raised a bit of money there.
He's a great bloke. He's so we're doing a little bit of a fundraiser at the moment. The last couple of lives we got our EverTrek jackets. They're made out in Nepal, but everyone's been buying them, and all the profits of those jackets then go into our guides and staff over Nepal during when they got no work.
During this period,
which has been awesome. But Brian took it a little bit further because he's got plenty of jackets, so he's like, I don't need one. but he's been doing some is it tab? I know it's a military term. So he basically been doing some tough routes in the UK and raising heaps of money. I think he got to about £570, which was awesome for him.
Ramona has said that it's like watching Good Morning Britain or something. I'll be honest, Ramona.
Here we go, you bring some professionalism to the table now.
We had to demonstrate this for our guests, Ramona. But don't worry, normal service will resume and we'll be back at our desks, not going live, making the mics won't work. It'll be fine.
I know, we're going to put an impression out to perform. But,
speaking of Ramona, should we bash through some questions?
We've had a lot of questions.
Because
some charity-related ones, some normal ones.
Honestly, I'm holding my phone. It's getting hot from Lauren. Ramona has asked, before I book me and Gaz for EBC.
Yeah.
What are you worrying about, Ramona? You've done it already.
And, it's one of our customers.
Gaz would like some advice. He had a medical meniscus tear. That's the knee. Going to go with knee tear.
Yeah.
Meniscus, guys. Yeah, you guys are more like that than I do. You probably had a few meniscus repairs. Yeah,
it hurts.
Operated on in 2013. He can easily do 10k a day and usually does, but he's concerned about longer distances on the EBC return hike. I think he's probably going to be more than fine. I think that was a long time ago. If he's done 10k a day since then, he's probably repaired most of the damage and built some strength around it. The body's remarkable at compensating for little niggles and things. I would say the return journeys, they are probably longer than 10k, but not, maybe 13k, 14 on the longest days.
Yeah.
So not crazy more. It's like training for a marathon. You run 18 miles and find the rest on the day. So I would say he's going to be absolutely fine, Ramona. Always remember as well, you've got the experience there to let him know about things like pace, hydration, nutrition. You've got the guides and things like that are there to rely on as well. So when we can do things like, in the worst case scenario, if he does have a problem, you know, we've got, you know, loads of different ways that we can help it. We got, you know, we can put painkillers in, we can put knee supports on. The guys can help carry a bag if necessary to keep weight off it. So yeah, it's not the be-all and end-all. We have had loads of people manage problems. I mean, my dad is 62, played football all his life. His knees are dust. He can hear bone grinding against bone when he moves, and he did it twice, almost. 1 3/4.
He got to 5,000 metres the first time.
Turned around at 𝘽𝙤𝙢𝙗𝙗𝙖𝙧𝙤.
Yeah, I mean, he's now a statue sort of marking the spot.
Yeah,
right?
my father basically came to EBC with us guys, and we call him the sloth. You know, he invented mountain pace, you know, taking your time. We often say that there's a type of moss that only grows on the back of my dad. And on the way back down, we bought him a yak bell, just in case we lost him in the mist.
Yeah.
But yeah, he went there with us. And,
2017, wasn't it?
2017, and then in April 2019, me and Andy went back and we erected a cairn for him at the moment where he turned around. But
Gotta have the banter on the mountains, you know,
but
it all helps.
Yeah, he came back and did it the October 2019.
Yeah.
So
He nailed it, right?
And he actually made it. Yeah, I wanted to have this big grand ceremony for when he walked past his own body, but he was so far behind, I couldn't bother to wait.
No, but anything like that, yeah, it's a good question around any injuries and things, and it sort of leads me on to a question for you guys actually, in terms of how do you get out and train, or how often do you get out to train? Do you have much time for getting out?
Our normal routine is we have a training night every Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
We have a fixed program, so we have these competencies that we have to keep up to date. So some things like basic life support we have to do every 6 months. Some things along the scale. So we don't allow people to go out on the hill unless they've been trained.
Yeah.
And unless they keep that training. So one of the things we've had with COVID is a little bit of skill fade because we've not been able to train quite so much.
Been out,
But every Wednesday is a normal thing, and then the first Sunday in every month we do an all-day session. And we just do that because in an evening, especially in the winter, there's lots of things you can't do. So we try and get out and do stuff on a Sunday as well. Plus all the call-outs, and we always, at the end of a call-out, we always have a debrief where we discuss what happened, is there anything we could improve on, and things like that.
Nice.
I think, during this COVID situation, we've had to modify our training now to sort of keep our skill levels up, but also to work within the guidelines of the COVID regulations and the guidelines, you know. So what we've done now, we split the team up into 4 groups, and so we got smaller working groups training. So that works well. It can be beneficial working in a smaller group, especially when you're training on technical systems, so you'll have more hands-on, better training, rather than a big, large group. So it's got its advantages, but you tend to miss the camaraderie of a bigger group, you know, especially on a Sunday. Yeah. So it's working. We're still training, we're still keeping our skill levels up, but we've had to modify due to the COVID situation. And most of we also have training, online training now as well.
Okay.
Nice.
So but it also means if one person is tested positive, they've only been around a quarter of the team or a third of the team, and that group then isolate and dump on call-outs for 2 weeks, but it means the rest of the team are still available. And when we do have call-outs, obviously we can't be called out in these little teams, the whole team will be called out. But when we had lockdown areas, we didn't call the people who were in lockdown areas. But all we do is we just make sure we wear lots of PPE. So as soon as you get to a call out, it's gloves, mask, goggles, hat. When we get to a casualty, we don't go to the casualty. It's quite strange because we don't go to the casualty. We stop about 20 metres short. And the people who are going to go to the casualty care, the paramedic, the doctor, whoever it might be, has to get PPE on before they go to the casualty site. And we try and limit the number of people who go near the casualty. As soon as we get to a casualty, first questions are, and the police normally have asked this question already, do you have any COVID symptoms? And also we will then, if possible, unless they've got breathing difficulty, we'll be putting masks on our casualties as well. And it's just trying to limit exposure to each other, to the casualty. So it's not just us, it's the casualty, but also anybody who's with the casualty. And it's just trying to take in the whole situation so that we just work within. Obviously, we've got to go to them, we've got to help them, but it's just trying to limit, keep the situation manageable.
It must be quite different right now, because when you get to someone and you can't
it's strange.
Get involved. Yeah, you got to take a step back and
And on
let's make sure
on
we're
a
all good.
cold night,
Yeah.
getting gloves on, getting PPE on, your goggles mist up because you're hot. It's quite a strange situation. But we're still, as soon as you get to a coach site, you talk to them, you explain to them what's going on, so they're not thinking, why are they standing over there? So you're explaining why you're doing this. And that's important.
Yeah, nice.
We have had a question come through from John in Brecon. He's actually an associate. We call him the Great Bald Yeti. And
he comes on some of our training weekends.
He lives in Langorse and is very knowledgeable of the area and stuff like that. And he wants to know basically, do you guys use any rescue dogs or any animals to aid in the search?
There's a separate agency called SARDA, which is Search and Rescue Dogs, which is sort of, and there's a SARDA South Wales. So again, we mentioned there are 4 teams scattered around South Wales. Within each team, you get some people who volunteer to train dogs and to have dogs. So we've got 1.5, haven't we? So Steve, we've got 1 dog that is trained.
Right.
We've had other people who've tried to take dogs through training, and the dogs haven't quite got the skills.
Been up to it.
But the lifespan of a search dog is it takes about 18 months to train them. Yeah. And then by the time they're 5 or 6, they've reached the end of their life. So it's only a relatively short period of their lives that they can train. So we can call SARDA, the Search and Rescue Dog Station, and all the people inside are members of one of the rescue teams. So they know about everything else that's involved. They can't just have a rescue dog and say, I'll come and help. Yeah. But the police have rescue dogs, search dogs. Yeah. If you, I don't know whether you remember the April Jones situation, sort of about 7 or 8 years ago, with a little girl up in 𝘾𝙗𝙗𝙗. We were heavily involved in that. We were up there for 10 days overall. It was one of the most, I mean, you asked earlier about amazing call-outs. The community of 𝘾𝙗𝙗 that came together and the way they looked after us. I mean, we slept on the Bowls Green floor in the leisure centre. But I've never eaten so much cake in my life. And you'd be eating a bit of cake, and then the little girl would come to you with a cupcake and say, I made these for you. So, great, I'm having another cupcake, thank you very much. But there were cadaver dogs came down from Scotland, so they could search. There are dogs that can search in water. They sit on a boat and they can smell in the water. There's a huge amount of dog resources out there.
Amazing.
Nice.
But we have to, when there is a search dog out, we have to work in a certain way. The dog handler will say, I can search that area, and they can do it much, much faster than we can, obviously. But we have to make sure where we position ourselves so we're not, the dog is not scenting us. So it often requires a lot more planning to work with a search dog.
It's remarkable how intelligent
I think the situation on the circumstances will dictate if a search dog is required. Because they are such a big asset under the right circumstances, you know. But once like Dom said, the situation has got to be managed. You can't have any searchers, for example, downwind of the dogs, otherwise they're picking up your scent. Search and rescue dogs are air scenting dogs, and that's how they work on, is the air scent, you know. But
could be a training program for a
Is there a particular breed that sort of...
Not lurchers.
Not lurchers,
Lurchers are ground scenting dogs.
That's why she's out there chilling out. I think
she would be too distracted by
very good at finding
food. Too distracted.
We had about, several years ago, one of the teams he's got gun dogs. And we were at a garden party, and the Queen was there, and we did a demonstration of a search.
Nice.
And she came to meet us afterwards, and the team leader was walking along the line introducing people, and she saw the dog, and she said to the dog, is that a search dog? And his response to the Queen, mind, was, only if you want looking for sandwiches.
Really? I was going to say, you found the Queen all right, didn't you? Brilliant, guys, brilliant. Okay, we got heaps of questions coming in, so we're going to answer some of our sort of regular ones, guys, all right? So we've had some in by email. What would be the best clothes to wear for the trip for Everest, apart from a good pair of hiking boots? Dave, I know you're the one with the equipment, mate.
Yeah, I think that... So what was it? What was the so
basically the best clothes? It's quite
other than a pair of hiking boots. What's important to bring? Yeah, I was going to say there's if you drop us an email, I'll send you a full kit list as well.
Yes,
which is probably going to be more beneficial for you. But as a snapshot, I think as a general, my philosophy when I go to base camp or Tanzania or anywhere like that is I like to be prepared for 4 seasons. That doesn't mean carrying a huge military Bergen full of everything that I need. It just means that I've got some layers you know, that are backed up in there in case the weather turns wet, the weather turns cold. You know, down jackets, waterproof jackets these days, they're very small and light. They don't take up much space or weight in your pack. And you do find yourself in the Himalaya, particularly, it's very changeable there, so it can be really, really hot, and I've been sunburnt whilst trekking through the Himalaya, and then a day later it's been like whiteout snow conditions. And there is a time when that'll happen, you know, and sometimes it's when you're in the lodge and it doesn't, you know, it's fine. Sometimes it's when you're trekking. And if it is trekking and I've been, you know, trekking like this with a t-shirt on and it suddenly starts to rain or snow or something like that, you're going to want to keep your core warm and stuff like that. Because people do pick up colds and things quite quickly at altitude. So just protecting the chest, keeping the chest warm and keeping your body comfortable. So I tend to, because I run quite hot, I tend to like shed layers and then, you know, put them back on and shed them again. Like it could be 15 times in a day. You know, I put that jacket on and off. So yeah, email in and I'll send you a full kit list. Until then, yeah, think about all 4 seasons. What if it's hot? What if it's cold? What if it's wet? And what if it's dry, I guess. If you
I was going to say, I know we've done some lies before, but I think, Lauren, if you're on, if you're listening, can you put the, because I think they're talking about Everest Base Camp there. We've got a Everest Base Camp kit list. If you drop it in the comments as well, just in the interim. And it's interesting because we're talking about Brecon beacons. A lot of the stuff that you use on Everest Base Camp, we actually use in the UK anyway. So stuff that you regularly use, it's not too different. The only major things are going to be things that you down jacket because of the cold. Although, you know, you can use some of them here. But definitely have a look at that list because it gives you a bit more insight into it. But otherwise, just drop us an email, info@evertrek.co.uk.
Exactly. So Ian Moore, relative?
No, he's not.
Awesome.
Surname's Moore.
Having just booked our place on EBC. Welcome, Ian. With the wife, they talked about their 5 main concerns, which they quickly want to run through, and we'll try and quickly answer.
I love
them.
number 1, going to the toilet.
Obviously
important.
Going to the toilet, very important. Make sure you do that. Get used to going in a hole in the ground. There are a lot of porcelain toilets and sit-down toilets that you're familiar with, but I've never once done a trek to Nepal and Everest Base Camp where I haven't had to use a hole at some point. So kind of get used to it. There's certain techniques. I'm not going to demonstrate those now. You'll have to figure it out for yourself. No, but honestly, it's totally fine. You know, it's not that difficult. It's mostly convenient wherever you are. The sit-down toilets. Altitude sickness. I'll come back to that one if that's okay. Sleeping can be a little bit difficult at altitude. Some people have like interruptions with their sleep and breathing and things like that. Diamox can certainly help that if it starts to impede your energy levels and your progress on the trip and it becomes a problem. Diamox is something you can rely on for that. Ultimately, the beds are quite basic, quite firm, but they're not outside. So yeah, everything that you need. Washing, disposable wet wipes, but what I tend to do is have like a bag, have a quick wash, put the dirty ones in the bag, zip that evil in there, and take it back down the mountain and dispose it in a place where I can do it kind of, you know, ethically. It's something that I'm becoming more and more conscious of doing, is like bringing my waste back with me when I'm up there. Particularly, you know, since you know, we've been working with charities and Fee's been educating me about all the different. I've got a keep cup now for my coffee, so I don't use any other stuff like that. So and
there's biodegradable and you know, wet wipes as well. So I think I saw a conversation in the group. I'm sure there's some information about that, about different brands that are kind of biodegradable and a bit better for the environment.
Exactly. And the Lukla flight is awesome. It's one of my highlights of the trip. I know it's one of yours as well.
Always, especially when you survive.
Have you survived all of yours? Yeah, I think I did too. Sometimes they can be delayed. Usually it's by a matter of hours. You're quite high up in the mountain. Sometimes the wind up high can move quite fast, so clouds come in and then they go. And when they're in, the pilots won't land. A lot of people stress about the delays, and what we usually say is, if that's a worry, have an extra day at the end, but also remember that if they're delayed, you don't want to be flying. You know, no one wants to go up in a condition where the pilot's not happy to land. It's quite an important part. Altitude sickness is one of those where I think we could do a whole live on altitude sickness.
We have, I mean, the very first one we talked about, we've done heaps of Tuesday tune-ins around altitude sickness specifically, but I think, I'm just trying to think now what the main one was. But I think if you have a look at the previous videos, previous lives, there's heaps on there. I think one specifically was just you actually. I think I was away somewhere, altitude training.
So what essentially you need to stay hydrated is crucially important. It's so critical. 4 to 5 litres of water a day. Squash helps, tea counts. So yeah, try and get as much fluids in you as you can, not only because you're exercising a lot when you're trekking, but at altitude altitude is like a natural diuretic. So as part of the acclimatization process, your body will dehydrate itself. If you don't replace those lost fluids, then it will bring on, your body won't be able to acclimatize further the next day, and it's a kind of compounds the issue as it goes on. Hydration, salts and stuff like that are really good to have. And then nutrition, sleep, being honest with yourself. If you are suffering, talk to the guide. Diamox is an option that you can take if you need to. I think we've got a blog about altitude sickness, so maybe Loza can post it for us. And if you want a detailed conversation, just give us a call.
Yeah, nice, mate. Okay, another one was from Jim. It's quite nice, this question, actually. You were constantly answering our questions about the trips. Can I ask you how you are doing as individuals and EverTrekker as a company?
Jim.
Well, Dave, no, we're doing great, thanks. Yeah, it's been a challenging, sort of feels like a longer period, but 6 months, 7 months, whatever it is. But we've been very lucky, in terms of trips. Obviously, we haven't been able to operate our trips, but as a company, we're doing great. We've managed to take on some more wonderful people, which has been great. Growing the team, growing our number of trips. Also focusing on things like, we hadn't, these things we do every Tuesday tune-in, we now do every Tuesday, and, they're becoming really popular. We didn't do this before this happened because, we got a little bit more time. And we realised the popularity is kind of, still growing, so which is why we continue to do them. So it's enabled us to do a few different things, although, essentially we can't wait to get back to the mountains. That's where we belong. Whether that be our training weekends, we've got some in Brecon Beacons in January and February, and the summer next year, we can't wait for those, fingers crossed. But essentially, our trips to Nepal, our trips to Tanzania, our trips to Peru, Morocco, we want to get back as soon as you guys, because, we're trekkers and climbers like you, and we want to get out there. So as soon as it's safe to do so, we're allowed. We're off. Let's get our bags. Let's go. But we're doing fine, aren't we?
Yeah.
Keep it.
Fine, can't complain. A lot of people have it a lot worse. I'm quite happy to be doing what I'm doing, and all good. Fee, are you okay?
I was going to say, we're quite,
well, aren't we?
Mr. Mr. Cameraman, you're good too, yeah? He's thumbs up to Mr. Cameraman.
Wicked. Right, we've got a few more questions. Ali's asked, actually, Ali's in there, mentions, and one for you guys. How can people get involved and volunteer with Brecon Mountain Rescue?
I suppose, do you need volunteers is the first question. Do you need more volunteers? And is it something that people can get involved in, or are you...
We have a team of about 60, and that's where we come to. It's as big as our base will allow us to train in, and for us to manage those people. So we do have a recruitment when we need it, really. So if people move away, or family, and there's all sorts of reasons why people leave, we then look to recruit more people. What I would say is, if you are interested, we've got a website, and you can put your details on that, and then when we do have a recruitment, we'll get in contact. But basically the way the team works is, if you show an interest, you're invited to initiate. Initiation's the wrong word, isn't it? You're invited to a formal presentation about the team, so that people understand, because not everybody understands what mountain rescue means.
The commitment,
the commitment, the fact that you go out in all weathers and at all times of day and night, and that you need, as Kev mentioned, your family on board. And employers on board as well. It's all important, and so that people don't come into it with the wrong ideas of what it is. Where they then go out on a night navigation exercise, and we check that people can navigate. Because that's not something we teach. We teach you enhanced skills about that, but that's a basic thing. And then if they get through that, they have a 6 to 9 month probationary period where they're taught about. They're not eligible to go on call-outs. So they have to understand how everything works, how the technical system works, how the team works, and then they do a little practical and a little exam, and then they're allowed to go out and call out. So the idea being, if their first call out is a challenging one, They know what to do, and we don't
Ready to
scare
go.
people.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah, I
people
see
are
what you mean.
prepared and know how to look after themselves.
Fantastic.
You
Nice.
say about the night navigation. Have you
Yeah.
ever had to rescue a trainee?
We go with them on the night.
Oh,
we don't
okay,
just let them loose and wait.
So you don't just drop them off and say, right, guys, if you get back, you win. If not, we'll
No, there is a team that goes with them because
Fair play.
it's not designed to scare people. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
checking for competency. if
very
you like.
responsible.
And how they react to situations, I suppose, as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the common questions we get, somebody comes up and says, how do I join mountain rescue,
Yeah, yeah.
So the best advice is that if anybody wants to join a mountain rescue team, they do their own little bit of research into that particular team.
Yeah.
And every team has got its own website, and it'll give you information on how busy that team is, how many call-outs they're likely to have per year, how often they train, what other activities you may be expected to get involved with, such as fundraising, etc. And that will give you an insight of how much commitment is required.
Yeah.
Good advice.
And alongside that is the important thing. Then you need to speak to your family and say, well, look,
Yeah.
I'm interested in this, but this
How do you
is
feel about
this
it?
is what the
Yeah.
commitment is looking like.
Yeah.
So that's generally your first step.
Yeah.
Because as Dom mentioned, our first step is when people put the application form in, we have an informal presentation for them, and there will be a number of people that will sit through that presentation, and they'll have the opportunity to ask questions.
Yeah.
But quite a few will realise that there's more commitment required than they thought. So they may think, well, I can't do it now. Maybe I'll come back in a year or so
Nice.
when I've settled.
Fantastic.
So do a little bit of your own research first,
Yeah.
and you'll have a better insight
It's
on
all-
what's required.
It's also quite useful to look at where the teams are located.
Yeah.
So we're based in Brecon itself.
Yeah.
There's one team based in Merthyr. There's another team based very near 𝘘𝙬, and there's another team based near Bridgend.
Yeah.
So look at the team that is nearest you, because it can be very frustrating if you want to go on a call out. By the time you get there, because you've driven for an hour, it's all been done, the helicopter's flown away, and everybody's walking back
they're
down.
there. Yeah.
So that's important. Look at where your location is. And if you live in Cardiff, you have to be aware that
Yeah.
you're not going to be the first on the scene. That you're going to be. I mean, I live 25 miles from Brecon. I know very well by the time I get to a call out, I'm going to be carrying a stretcher up and all the extra stuff, because a hasty party will have gone up and be already with the casualty. And you need to accept that you're not going to be the centre of it. And you also need to understand that it is 100% teamwork. Anybody with an ego lasts no time at all.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's not for that type of individual, I suppose. Yeah.
And you have to be willing sometimes to make the tea.
Yeah.
No, if you, that's just as an important a job. When everyone comes back down
Or
from
coffee,
the hill,
you gotta
have a
have
tea
some
and coffee.
coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 60 guys.
Bloody hell. No, great stuff.
Awesome.
Couple more questions. Dave, I know we were looking at it then, but which is awesome question, I got to be honest. It's from Lee Stevenson. He's asked, over the next 3 to 5 years, I plan on doing 𝘘𝙍, Everest Base Camp, Island Peak, Mera Peak, Pisang Peak and 𝙘𝙖𝙖𝙧𝙞. Wow. Going to be busy.
Good list.
My question is, what order would you do them and why? And also, do you do Elbrus?
Wow.
Dave, what would you do first, mate? Or last?
I think I do 𝚑𝙘𝙖𝙧 last because it's
Yeah,
it's the biggest.
Yeah.
So naturally, you're going to be working up in altitude towards a mountain that's nearly 7,000 meters. So 𝚑𝙘𝙖𝙧 was the highest mountain outside of the Himalaya. So you're flirting with you're nearly 7,000 meters, and it's not far above that on Everest, where you'd be thinking about supplemental oxygen.
Yeah.
So I'd probably use that last and build the experience of all those other peaks into my 𝚑𝙘𝙖𝙧 challenge. With regards to the other order, to be honest, you can do. I mean, it's possible to do Island Peak and Mera Peak in a single 30-day sort of expedition. We've done it for one of our guys before. I'd probably think of it in terms of like the altitude gradient. So I'd start at around Island Peak in the Everest region. You can combine it with an Everest base camp trip and stuff like that. Then you can do Mera, or Pisang and then Mera. And then ultimately put that Himalayan peak climbing experience to use over in Argentina when you go up 𝚑𝙘𝙖𝙧.
Yeah.
I think Elbrus, it's definitely on the cards. So it takes time for us to actually roll out a new trip, largely because there's a phenomenal amount of work that goes into sort of you know, not only on the ground in country, but also here in the office, making sure that it's EverTrekkified. If we wanted to, we could open up, you know, 10 peaks in 10 days. You know, we could. It's a matter of putting them on the website and selling them, but that's not how we normally do it. So normally we visit the country, we do the trip ourselves, we learn from it, we speak to lots of experienced people. We got to get the right guides together, the right team, even as far as, you know, the best teams, the best companies attract the best porters and things like that. So it really does start at the ground level, and we build the product up. So we know when you go on there, we've done all the heavy lifting, so to speak, so you can just enjoy it, do the challenge, get to the summit safely, get back down safely, and, you know, all those little nitty-gritty worries that plague sort of other expeditions, you're not even aware of them. So yeah, just a little bit of background, but to answer your question, yes, we will be doing Elbrus at some point. But that's why it's not up there at the moment. But 𝙘𝙝𝙖𝙧𝙞, pretty much launched, isn't it? You know?
No, it is launched. Yeah, you can book onto that. We've got dates. I mean, at the end of next year, we've got one particular date there, and then we've got another expedition in early 2022. So, yeah, we keep relatively small teams on 𝙘𝙘𝙧𝙞 because it's quite niche. Yeah. You know, it's you know, we're talking less than 6 people. Because it's, you know, better chance of success, smaller team works together. Yeah. And with the type of trip it is as well, you know, we want to keep it a small team. So yeah, if you're interested,
should mention 𝘘𝙖𝙖𝙧𝙞 as well. We do 𝘘𝙖𝙧𝙀 Peak. We can pretty much do any of the Himalayan peaks. We can't mainly, you know, Mera and Island attract the largest numbers. So, you know, 𝘘𝙖𝙧𝙀 is not, you know, up front in its sort of, you know.
It's not that popular, is it, 𝘘𝙖𝙀 Peak?
No, but it's a great map.
And maybe it's the name.
Yeah, you've got 𝘘𝙖𝙧𝙀, 𝘘𝙀𝙀. You know, they're two that perhaps they attract smaller numbers. But you know, we can definitely do them. So Lee, drop us an email. Let's talk about it. Yeah,
great question. I'll move on quickly to another one. Priscilla has asked, can you fly drones in Nepal on the way to EBC or in Namche Bazaar? Unfortunately, no. They banned it about 4 or 5 years ago because there was a few accidents there. So yeah, unfortunately, unless you've got a specialist license, you know, you're talking documentary style, is very expensive, which you've got to apply for to the Nepalese government. You're not allowed any form of drone vehicle, unfortunately.
To do with the helicopters, basically. Yeah. Helicopters in the Himalaya are like taxis because, you know, it's not like an air ambulance, so to speak. It's designed to get you from A to B incredibly quickly, so they arrive when they're called. So you can't schedule them. So when you do want to fly a drone, although it seems simple, just pop it up in the air, actually you don't know when the next chopper's going to come. They can come out the mist out of nowhere. So yeah, you can't do it.
Great. Right, any other questions, Dave? I know we've had heaps today, but I'm conscious of time. Fee, any other questions?
We have a question from, I think this is Mum of Jen and Mum of Lot from Bernice Carter.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know whether she's taking the mickey at me or not, but I'm going to put it out there.
No, I've seen them. This real.
Okay, guys, this is for you, but I just thought I'd vet it first.
They're scaring us now.
So, jetpacks. Are you guys trained in jetpack rescues? Because,
that's the future.
We're looking for some volunteers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
hasn't one of the founders of jetpack just killed himself with a jetpack?
Oh God, has he?
Yeah. Entirely.
Close.
Yeah. You can imagine. Deploy the jetpack. Can we deploy the cadaver dog to go and find the jetpack guy?
Gosh.
I mean, if you go back to drones, we've started using a drone.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh wow.
But the limitation, it's only allowed to go 500. We have permissions for the national park and so on, but it's only allowed to go 500 metres from the location of the drone pilot, which is quite limited. But in theory, it's very, very good for searching an area. Yeah. And we've got voice-activated ones, so it can actually talk very loudly to a casualty from the air above. It can light a scene. In theory, we're looking at, in the future, could it take a defibrillator to a casualty? Could it take drugs? You know, I mean, we're allowed to use morphine, but we have to be very, very careful in how we use morphine.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's a possibility of us, but the only snag is the Brecon Beacons. It's quite windy. We have been in partnership with Leicester University for the last few years. Some PhD students have been designing a drone, especially for us to test. It did arrive, and it's about this sort of size. It's absolutely massive. But it's something Mountain Rescue in general are looking at as a way to carry stuff and to search for people.
That's awesome. Deborah Burgess has asked, can we hire down coats on EBC Trek And are there any other things that you would say to hire instead? So when it comes to down jackets, actually, if you want a jacket that provides you with the most warmth, including heartwarming, we are selling the EverTrekker down jackets, which all the proceeds of those sales, all the profits go directly to our team in Nepal to support those guys during the COVID. So rather than sort of paying to hire one, you might consider one of those. But you can hire pretty much anything you want over in the destinations. I normally stick to the ancillary items like poles, water bottle, you know, a cool beanie I find or something like that. But to be honest, the majority of the stuff you want to be familiar with and know that it works for you. I've bought some, you know, insulated sort of base layers on budget, and when I put them on, they're rubbish. You sweat, it keeps you cold, you know. So try out your kit, become familiar with it, and to be honest, take it with you. If you're going to rent stuff, poles, stuff like that. But the EverTrekker down jackets, I hear, are the best for keeping your heart warm. I understand.
They are
Absolutely.
certainly
Certified.
Yeah. So.
Well, they do actually say on there. But yeah, you can, Lauren, if you can drop the link again into the comments, that would be awesome. Just if you do want to grab yourself one of those jackets. And yeah, I mean, we're obviously trying to speed up the delivery of those as much as we can. But it's taking a little bit longer than planned just because of the our good friend COVID. And travel restrictions at the moment, but yeah, we're hoping to get some out as soon as we can. Yeah, a couple more coming through. Crampons needed. Excuse me. Crampons needed for crossing 𝘽𝙞𝙢𝙗𝙖𝙧𝙞 Pass. Not really, no. So 𝘽𝙞𝙢𝙗𝙖𝙧𝙞 Pass on the Everest Base Camp route via 𝘾𝙍𝙼𝙾 Valley is one of the routes that we do. And it's very changeable. I mean, if you go in at certain times of the year, you're talking maybe February, even in November, actually sometimes March, there might be some snowfall there, and it is very icy. You don't necessarily have to take sort of crampons with you because you can actually hire or use them locally. And actually, I know that we've had some instances where it has become needed, and we've got them locally, but they haven't been crampons; they're just studs, right?
Yeah. So they're like the you know, what would I call it? Like one size fits all. Like chain,
they're not really
chain
crampons.
grips. Yeah, they're not like technical crampons with the spikes and stuff, because you don't really need it. If you actually do need crampons to go over 𝘽𝙞𝙢𝙗𝙧, then it no longer becomes a sort of a safe thing to do, to be honest with you, because the snowpack on the high passes can be really, you know, quite difficult, and it's rescue we have to think about. So yeah, but you know, snow's fine and it's doable. Yeah, we had those. Like the grips.
Micro spikes.
That's it, micro spikes that fit around a normal hiking boot. The guides provide them, you don't have to worry about it. I'd say 99 times out of 100, they're not going to be needed. Just a hiking boot is all you're going to need to get over there.
Yeah, nice. Well, look, guys, we're gonna round it up today, but yeah, obviously, huge thanks to gents for coming in, answering our questions, and you know, we're super excited to be obviously supporting you guys. You know, so yeah, we're really happy with that. And just to go back to the fundraising guide, yeah, if you are, you know, if you are looking at fundraising for any particular charity, but obviously if you're fundraising for the guys as well, then definitely have a look at that guide because it's got heaps of things to use. Anything else before we finish, Fee?
I think that's it. I mean, yeah, if anyone who wants to chat about fundraising generally or to find out a bit more about how they can do that, how they can raise some money for their chosen charity, then do give us a shout. And yeah, hopefully we've had some lovely comments from people about you guys at Mountain Rescue. Of comments about you guys. So if people have been inspired to kind of get involved, you know, and the thing with fundraising, I would say as well, is you know, it is that every little counts. So if someone's thinking like, oh, I don't really think I could do anything big, I couldn't raise like thousands and thousands of pounds, like I'm sure it would all be appreciated. So, you know, you can just do something small, raise a little bit of money, and I'm sure it'd be appreciated by these guys. So do get in touch if that's something you'd like to do.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah, I think we'll have to pop up and see Kevin Dom at some point.
I know.
Let's do a live
for yours next time.
Yeah. Just a thank you to EverTrekker, Brecon Mountain Rescue team. I'm very appreciative for your support on this, and also big thanks to all your followers who listened in here. Some interesting questions there. Thanks all for your anticipated support, and I must say it's the best cup of coffee I've had.
I'm good because I like coffee. And I was like, right, I've got to have decent coffee. Cheers, guys. All right, we'll sign it off. But thanks very much.
All the best, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Well, and